It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing song. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How are you doing, Phil?
I am very excited and happy to be here, and I'm happy to be anywhere, so there we go.
Well, we're glad that you're here. Out of your choices of being anywhere, here's a good place for you to be.
You got to be somewhere.
when we're doing this thing, at least. And please send your comments and questions and tell us where you are to at Song Talk Radio on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode and to find links to resources we mentioned and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. And before we get to tonight's guests, just want to give a little shout out to a few of our past guests on the podcast who have been nominated for Junos this past week.
That's pretty awesome.
Our guest from a while back, Kirk Diamond, has been nominated for Reggae Recording of the Year. For Reggae Party featuring Cairo McLean and Finn by Kirk Diamond, Cairo McLean and Finn. And one of our superstar guests, Julian Taylor, has been nominated for Contemporary Indigenous Artist or Group of the Year for his album Beyond the Reservoir. And finally, our more recent guest, Amanda Sum, has been nominated for Music Video of the Year for her music video Different Than Before. So congratulations to all our guests who have been nominated for Junos. So another example of the Song Talk Radio bump.
I'd say that's true.
Good things happen.
That's amazing.
Good things happen after you get on the podcast. So
I think so.
So don't forget us when you accept your Juno, guys.
That's right.
Don't forget to give us a shout.
You still have to help us move.
Yes, everyone's moving. So, okay. And I found a little interesting article on the interwebs. I subscribed to this blog called the Disc Makers blog, and they released kind of an interesting article called "Streaming versus CDs: Who Wins?" And they have a little video that goes along with it, and they're basically just sort of talking about, art, as artists, do we release our music via streaming? Do we make CDs? Do we do both? And they actually go through a number of metrics and talk about a number of things to try and give a holistic view of these things. They talk about audience reach, promotion, sound quality, portability, fan engagement, music discovery, brand building, and monetization as factors to consider. And of course, by the time they come to the end, spoiler alert, they ended up being as high. Each category got 4 points each. and basically the bottom line was, as artists, you should be doing both. Streaming to reach as many people as possible, CDs to make the most bang for your buck and give, your fans something tangible to hold on to, which is a nice thing. Makes me wonder, though, how many people even have CD players anymore, though?
Well, that's what I thought. I was reading it. I'm just going, but, do people actually even own CD players anymore?
We don't have one in our car anymore.
Well, I did a bit of informal polling on some of the forums I'm on, various music production forums, and actually a lot of people had CDs players, CD players.
Right.
So there was quite a few of them, and I think so. And also a lot of the people that said, "Oh, my band has started, making CDs, and we sell a boatload of them." So
yeah,
people are still buying CDs, as surprising as that is.
Yeah, I mean, I the only CD player I really have is the one that's in my desktop PC. It's a Blu-ray burner. I've never burned a Blu-ray in my life, but it's what I bought with it. But and I guess the PlayStation in the living room technically can play CDs. I don't think I've ever done that, but I used to make CD mixes for the car. Don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Just plug in the phone now and do whatever. But I mean, the forums and things you're talking about, they're probably mostly production people or audiophiles.
Yes,
that maybe have that technology, but your regular day-to-day person, I'm guessing.
That would be interesting, to see how many people have CDs. So like yesterday was 1 year since we moved to St. John's in our new house. And we still haven't unplugged our stereo and our CD player.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Miner gave me his old CD player, which needed a bit of repair, which I repaired.
Nice.
And it's like a 6-disc,
Yeah.
changer.
Carousel.
And I've used it a couple of times back in Toronto, but we haven't even had the need to unpack it and get our CDs out because we have Alexa
Mm.
plugged into our stereo. So we just play music through that, and we ask the A lady to play various albums, and it's great because actually the quality is actually fine.
Mm.
So it's definitely an interesting article. He made a big point about sound quality. I'm not so sure that the average person out there
Yeah.
cares about sound quality, considering a lot of people listen to music with just one earbud.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how many people really care about that. I know I do, and I'm sure music people do, but how much of the regular people do, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like I've gotten so used to listening to MP3s and streaming now that the sound quality doesn't really bother me. I mean, and it has gotten better. Like compression algorithms got better, and like like the it's not necessarily MP3s anymore. MP3 is kind of an old technology now, but now they're on the AACs and MP4s and lossless. Even Tidal does lossless streaming, right? And it's that, like, there are options out there if you're even an audiophile for streaming. So it is there. But that being said, as a fan, especially of local indie artists, like if I go to one of their shows, I will buy a CD because I know that's a good way to support them. Even if it, it's especially if it costs the same as buying their album on Bandcamp or whatever, I'll still buy their merchandise if I can, right? Because it ostensibly helps them out a little bit more. And again, and I do like having the tangible thing. It does kind of get ripped into my iTunes and then tucked away.
Yeah.
And I have a great big binder of discs. I got rid of all the plastic cases years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's all just in folders with the liner notes.
Interesting.
And that's sitting in a box in storage. Like it's not even, I don't even have it. If I wanted to dig up a CD, I have to go get it and pull it out. But yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think CDs are cheaper now to make, which his company is Disc Makers, I believe it is.
Yeah, and then that's what they do.
So he was saying about $1 a disc. So I think it was certainly cheaper than I think when we did it before.
Yeah, for sure. And you can also distribute USB keys at a show, or download cards or whatever. Like there's always a medium too between having the media on a disc as opposed to a streaming option on a physical thing, or some other option in between.
One thing I would like to remind our listeners is that as we learned back when we were at CJRU in Toronto, is that if you want to get listed into the playlists of college radio, you have to actually give them a full CD. Like a short CD won't do it. It has to be like a full-length CD.
It has to be a full album. I think you can still send them like a Google Drive link of here are my WAV files.
I think you have to send them a CD.
Really?
That's what I remember. Of course, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess they want to make sure that you're the real deal.
Yeah.
So for maybe getting onto other radio stations. But I remember when I found that out, I thought that was very odd.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising.
Well, these days, because you might just only have one really fantastic song. Maybe you don't have 10 songs that are that good. So why record 10 songs that aren't great just to get one played? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world we're living in.
Yeah, especially with streaming now, albums can be any length, and a lot of people are releasing, 2-song EPs and 5-song EPs and 4-song EPs. And
well, that's what singles used to be.
Yeah, exactly. So it used to be a A-side and a B-side. So
yeah, and a lot of people made a lot of money from those things back in the day.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, we'll certainly put a link to that article in the show post for this show, and we can check it out. It's a short read. It's kind of Kind of a light read.
That's true.
Nothing too heavy there. And okay, and on to the main event. Tonight, we're happy to welcome singer-songwriter Civil Wray. And here's a taste of her new single, Sparkle.
Some things are blue. Don't make me think of you. This tinsel town is lacking some sparkle. Life goes so fast. The future past. While all my time is lacking some sparkle.
Sparkle is exactly what Civil Wray does on her brand new single, appropriately entitled Sparkle. Civil Wray, the nom de plume of Toronto singer-songwriter Andrea DeBoer, worked with producer Matt DiMatteo, Danko Jones, Big Rec, Ashley McIsaac, in creating an ethereal dream pop song that may remind listeners of artists like Fiona Apple, David Bowie, and Tame Impala. It's a song about existential loss and the redemptive power of love. Sparkle is the first release from Civil Wray's upcoming 5-song EP and is now available on Apple Music, Spotify, and at civilraymusic.com. Welcome to Song Talk Radio, Andrea.
Thanks for having me. Hey.
Great to have you. And
I see. Hold on one second.
Switch on your video there. Perfect. For our viewers on YouTube. Podcast listeners will be like, what is going on?
What's going on?
How are you doing?
I'm really good.
Great to see you. Great to have you on the show. And full disclosure, I've been a fan of yours for a few years now, from when I saw you first perform and got your first EP or your earlier EP a few years ago. And one of the things I want to ask you right off the bat about your process, because I find your melody writing to be very unique and interesting. And what I'm wondering is, how much of that is kind of on purpose, or how much of it is kind of from intuition? Like, where do you fall on this kind of head versus heart spectrum that, all of us songwriters are on? And do they just pour out of you, or are you actually thinking about them?
They pour out of me. I'm more heart. I also play I'm a violinist as well, fiddle player and violin and classical. So there's a lot of different melodies that I draw upon. And I study jazz. So there's just, like, I've got a big palette, and then sometimes, just the words and the melody all just come out at once, and with the chords, and it's just, you got that piece and you're like, well, how do I make the rest of the song have that feel and that feeling, and how does it, and then it just becomes like you're building it, or sometimes it's a big rock and you see an image in there and you're like making a sculpture, like Rodin said, you can see a rock and you can see what it was. I don't see what it is necessarily, but it's definitely hard.
But does your fiddle playing, your violin playing, sort of influence the vocal melody? Because like I play piano, and I've played piano a lot longer than I've been singing, and I find that like piano, I can do like interesting runs and really crazier melodies with a lot more busy stuff, and but if I try singing that, there's no room for breath. There's no room. Like it's a very different animal, I find, but
Right. So, well, like Bach, the music of Bach, like the partitas, and like classical music and like Baroque music, and then just when you play it, and jazz music, when you play it on the violin, it's a very like melodic instrument. So, and I think that's why I use all my range, because I can go to a low G on the violin and then go really, really high. But you get used to hearing that G, and that becomes something that, I don't know, maybe sopranos don't sing. I'm not a soprano though. Oh. But I don't know. I'm weird. I don't know why.
What is your process of songwriting? Are you do you come up with musical ideas and build from there? Start with your lyrics, or?
I've tried all of them. I do co-writing, so we all kind of have different situations like that. I've written lyrics and then said, okay, what's the melody going to be this? But I find the ones that are, they all come in different. They're all different song babies. Like, but on average, I would say I will just record myself improvising, and then I will hear a song. And sometimes a song will just be almost fully formed, based on the improvisation. Not saying that's my best song, but sometimes that happens. And sometimes you hear something and it's really, every time you re-listen to it, you get excited about it. And sometimes you really re-listen to other stuff and you're like, meh, and you're like, thank you, song baby, goodbye. And you just, it's multifaceted. It's not just, I don't have one method, but I probably, as like I said, I lean towards probably singing and playing at the same time on the piano or with the violin.
And when you record these improvs, I imagine they can be fairly long, like minutes and minutes long. Do you finish recording the improv and then know immediately where the nuggets in that improv were, or do you go back and listen to it multiple times and sort of pick out stuff, or how do you deal with the aftermath of the improv?
Well, it depends when I do the improv. Like if I'm in the middle of teaching and I've got 5 minutes and all of a sudden like I've got this idea, then I'm not going to revisit it till maybe later that day or next week or a month. Like I don't necessarily, it just depends what the schedule is and what I'm focused on at the time. If I'm in a real songwriting mode, like that's the main thing I'm working on, then it will be like immediately and just working at it. But if I'm not necessarily in a songwriting season, like I'm not always writing, but I'm happiest when I'm always writing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And are those improv things? Are those lyrics attached or dummy lyrics attached? Sometimes.
Yeah. Like the other album, you remember? I did a song called Crows, and I didn't really have any words except that I had, and all their coal like feathers flutter so they don't miss a beat. And I was like, holy moly, where'd that come from? But then I knew everything had to match that lyric and be as it had to match that lyric. Everything had to match that lyric. So that was the bar.
That was your anchor.
Yeah, that was the anchor and the bar that I had to set.
Right. Interesting.
Do you start off working with sort of a chorus idea, or sort of like a verse, or like, and do you start thinking about hooks and when you're going to be inserting them in the songs, or?
I would say probably I tend to start with a verse, but I don't really necessarily insert hooks in there because the hooks are usually the thing I like to do. But chorus, I've had to work on choruses to really kind of think of it in a certain way, and that's been really useful in co-writing with some people that are really, really like, no, we can make a stronger chorus. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
What does that mean when you say stronger chorus? Stronger how?
Well, if I've been playing, if I'm like, I think it's more like in a pop sense. Like I might think a chorus, but that's not really a thing in jazz. So if I've been doing a lot of jazz, then I might be a little noodly, although I tend to not be. But you get a little bit noodly,
right?
And so you might have a bit of a noodly chorus, but sometimes a noodly chorus is the right thing to do. So it always depends. But yeah, if it's straight up like sort of pop song, then you just want to make it super memorable and fun, and you imagine everyone being able to sing it, and also it makes you excited. It's just basically you're still crafting the song. So the chorus, if you want the chorus strong, you want it to be like you listen, and then you get to a little part, and not quite that, and then you just keep going back and back and back till you're super happy.
Do you do a lot of editing of your ideas, or they kind of come out and you just sort of take them as they are?
Oh, yeah, editing. editing, unless it's like once I had a song I was writing with Neil Murchison, and we wrote this song called Moth, and it was like I wrote the title, and then all of a sudden I wrote all the, like, it was just like boom, it was just like spontaneous, there it was. But most of the times it's editing, and sometimes I don't have perspective, and I'll have other people listen to it, and I'll go like, what do you think? But I've gotten better. Like the one thing I can say about the pandemic, that was pretty bad for some people, but however, as a songwriter, and it was good because I did a lot of online co-writes, and I did a lot. I was learning music production, so then I could edit the music much better. Like I never, had to think about it conceptually, but then when I could actually record it and then move it to where I thought it might work, that completely changed the game as far as being able to write a song for the speed that I could finish a song. Because you can make decisions a lot quicker when you can manipulate it yourself in a DAW.
True that. So you found that co-writing somehow is better for you, or is just different?
It's just different. I mean, this new EP I'm coming out with, it's co-written. Mm-hmm. The one that I did before, maybe one song is co-written, but the rest I wrote. So it just depends what the project is. Yeah, I think I should let you guys know I'm a Gemini, so I tend to do both things. Right. I'm not an either or. It's not like, I just do it this way. I do it like, oh, you do it that way, let me try it that way. I let everyone has a different technique, right? So I'm like, okay, let's try it that way, because then it stretches your mind and you think differently, and it just, I don't know, makes you. For me, it's helpful.
It seems like lyrics don't have much of a challenge for you.
I've been writing poetry since I was like grade 7, maybe grade. Yeah, I've been writing poetry for a long time, and I used to read a lot, and I really love words and lyrics, and I was a big fan of the Who, and they always had really good lyrics, and yeah, there's just. The Beatles always had great lyrics. I mean, great lyrics are important to me, and not that I'm always writing great lyrics, but they're definitely important to me. And I don't think that. Oh, maybe you'll ask this later, but I'm just saying the new technologies nowadays. Whatever they spit out when you put the information in, like the chat.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. I don't think they're gonna really have an effect on songwriters. Not really, except to do better than the chat.
If you can do
like,
better than
okay,
the chat,
I can do better
well.
than that.
Yeah,
there's your starting point.
yeah, because your approach to the lyrics is very you're kind of poetic, right? Like you're not spelling out things plainly necessarily. You're usually going for a little bit more imagery, metaphor, that angle of things. Is that a normal for you, or is it that some of your songs are like that, or?
Yeah, because a lot of people go, "What's this song about?" And I'm like,
That's up to the listener, isn't it?
It's up to the listener. Exactly.
But how does that work with co-write? So when you get into co-write with somebody and someone's very insistent that they want to write a country song together where everything's playing out on its sleeve.
Oh, that's fine too. Then I bend to that and I go, okay, that's a great lyric, and then maybe I'll come up with more like melodic ideas and go along with that same flow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just go with the flow on that, because that's the thing about co-writing. It's really interesting is that you're writing it together, but sometimes someone gets super inspired and you're like, okay, I love what you're doing, so how can I help you in this process? And that's a lot of times that can be co-writing, where you're also supporting the other co-writer, and and bring up these really important points that they can't see, their blind spots. And I've had people do that for me when I've been like basically writing a song, and they're like, but if you do it like this, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. But sometimes in any co-writing, it's all equal, because you wouldn't have the song if the other person wasn't in the room with you. It just wouldn't exist in the same way. But yeah, I mean, I'm just flexible that way, I guess.
That's good. And it sounds like your co-writers are as well, and that helps a lot. Because there's one thing with co-writing, you can't come into it with an absolutist attitude about it has to be like this, my way or the highway. That's not going to get you very far in a collaboration.
Yeah. It's not a collaboration.
What's that, Phil?
Because then it's not a collaboration.
Yeah. Because on this song Sparkle, there's including yourself, there's 4 writers.
Yeah. So it's mainly I'm the main songwriter, and then it would be Matt, who's like, we really did the melody, lyrics, and melody and lyrics and chords, and Eva and Jessica were just like pinch hitting certain points where it was like, they should get some credit on it because it wouldn't have been what it was if they hadn't been there.
Mm-hmm.
And come up with these, a specific idea or some kind of contribution that made sense.
Yeah. Which is always true. Like sometimes you're in a collaboration and your idea may not make it into the final song, but your idea may inspire a direction that that generates the content from another songwriter that gets their final thing is in the song. It's like it's just being there.
And it was more like I would say that as songwriting it was I think that makes sense what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk to you about something that I'm always going on about because it's something I've been struggling with, just trying to come up with a solution. But the song that you're going to play today is quite long.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know how many TikToks that is, but that's a whole bunch of TikTok.
It's a lot of TikTok.
Why 6 minutes?
I don't know. That's just how long it ended up being.
Mm-hmm.
When we tried to figure out, where you cut it, I guess you could cut the second verse when we do a radio edit, but the second verse has a lot of content in there. As far as the story I'm trying to convey and how it sings and how it feels. And it's all about taking you on a journey. This is one of those it's almost, I would say we call it dream pop, but it's really prog,
Yeah.
Prog
it does have an element of that,
and then even have a reggae part in it in the bridge. So so it takes you on a journey.
It's certainly epic in a certain kind of way. We'll listen to the full song in a minute, but it's got an epic quality to it, which very much sounds kind of proggy that way.
Yeah, there's an aspect of that in there, and I really love how it does sound like Sparkles. Like the instrumentation is really rich and really. Really pretty. I mean, it's a strange thing when you do a song and then you're like, you love it every time. I love it every time I listen to it, and it's like it's not a part. It's like not about me anymore. It's about the next person who's going to listen to it. So
do you write the song like on an acoustic guitar or on a piano before taking it into production?
On a piano. It started on a piano.
Yeah, definitely. Was it because one of the things with those longer songs is I'm always kind of wondering how people get there because I write songs and I write very short ones, the classic intro, verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, end, which comes into 3-4 minutes. And I can understand in a band situation where you could jam things out and you can get this sort of groove going. But how did you go from just playing this on a piano to getting something that is this epic?
Matt DiMatteo.
Oh, okay.
He's producer. We went through this song and did many variations of it. Like,
oh, really?
Was your initial sketch shorter?
We were composing it sort of as we went, and then it just was like. It's kind of like you're a chef, but you don't have a recipe, but you know what tastes good and what sounds good, or what tastes good. And so you're like, you're adding things and not to put certain ingredients in it for sure, but a few things you're like, okay, well, let's take that out. Except that you have the ability to take things in and out. So
yeah.
maybe cooking's not the right metaphor. But my point is that it was like it was band like in creating it. It wasn't just like I hired him as a producer and he went, oh, here are your songs. Okay, slapdash, here you go. He was like, listen to that part. And he goes, that's really great. I like that. And so we would workshop it before, because that song, I didn't come in fully formed the song. It was like, this is an idea I had.
Mm-hmm.
Something had happened. A friend had passed away. Person in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I was pretty gutted. So there's a lot of emotional content that's trying to be conveyed through the music as well as in the lyrics and in the performance.
Mm-hmm. How long was the process to actually get from your initial sketch to something, not the final mix, but something that kind of resembles this?
Well, we didn't work together every day. We were working like once a week for a while. And, so yeah, a couple of years at least.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was a long process, but I mean, that's in between people doing different projects but yeah, we just kind of kept working at it.
Well, with the perspective of 17 months later, do you then look at the song and start tweaking lyrics and melodies and things? Because it's been a long time since you last looked at it. I figure I would do that.
Well, that's the thing. But I knew it's like, no, we're keeping it the way it is.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I'd been listening to it and I was like, no, we're not changing it. Like, it's good. It's like, we're leaving it. Because I mean, that's where being a chef comes in. You add that one extra bit too much salt, or you do that thing and you can ruin it.
No, it's true.
So I was like, it's not broke. Let's just go with this way.
Just getting back to Phil's question, and our listeners will hear it in a minute when we play it. But there's a few things that make this song quote unquote long, and the epic quality to it is for number one, there's tons of space in the verse, like between a line of lyric and the next line of lyric. There's music going on. There's a lot of space in it.
Yep.
And then the chorus in itself is almost like a complete song. Like there's like 3 or 4 different sections to the chorus. It goes from this to something else, to a different melodic shape, to a different. There's a lot of words in it. And when you add all these little things up, you're at 4.5 minutes, and then you decide to put a reggae bit in the bridge. Well, okay. We're going to another place. But the thing is, because of those really high contrast points, you can stick with each kind of thing for a little while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it all those things added up. Next thing you know, you got yourself 6 minutes on.
Yeah, we were like trying to figure out what could we get rid of, and it was like, no, you can't. And also, I like the idea that you said space, because it really is actually kind of it's a space. It takes space. It's a song that will take the space, and I used to call it like it's for your existential angst. Like this is it's really about all of us. I mean, sure, it started out with something with some grief. We all experience grief, but then then there's this, like, what's going on with the planet, what's all going on with everything. I don't want to I don't think you can do that in a 3-minute song, but there's something that, and I think when you were saying, I hadn't thought of the chorus as being like all these different sections, but you're right. But I think, I have studied classical music, and I know Matt was a choir singer. He was in a choir when he was a kid, which was like a classical music choir. So we've had like this exposure to classical music, and so when you were talking about it, I'm like, yeah, it's almost kind of like not a sonata or anything like that, but it definitely it's not just the regular. Not regular, but it's just a different. It's just prog. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because conventional, it's kind of songwriter workshopy kind of things always encourage your chorus is your central idea, and you should be able to say it in the fewest words possible. And your verses are the opportunity to expound stuff and be kind of lengthy, but your chorus should be super concise. And that's the sort of conventional thinking. And your song just kind of throws all that out the window and says, no, I'm going to do this super long chorus that's got lots of different things going on, and it's great.
Well, I mean, but it's the subject that makes the difference. I don't think I could have. We could have written a song about that, like, I don't know, a cup of coffee. It was just basically about the world, life, and everything. You can't do it like it's not necessarily a 3-minute song. Maybe you'll take 6 minutes for it.
Yeah, because you had some weighty material to work with.
Yeah, and I mean, not all songs have to be short, and not all songs have to be long. I think it's good to have a variety.
Yeah, I guess it's just everyone's so focused on TikTok, and in the songwriting world, everyone's doing these tight little packages. It's kind of interesting when people actually have these longer works, and when you're writing by yourself, it's kind of, you look at that and go, gee, how do you actually do that? How do you start off from an idea and then wind up with something that's that long, where I would start chopping stuff down? But, I need to get over that. It's something that's, I don't know. It's
you go out of your way and write a super long song. But I think part of it, a lot of it, I don't know a lot of it, but some of it does have to do with technology too, right? Because if your song is skipped within the first 30 seconds on a streaming service, it doesn't count as a play. So if you're taking your time with a synth pad for the first 45 seconds before you get to your verse that's got lots of space in it, and then your chorus doesn't hit for 2 minutes, the chances of someone skipping it by 30 seconds is probably higher than if you had it loaded with hooks off.
I think in this particular track, the synths and everything like that have this weird hypnotic meditational sparkle to it that is a mood. Like, it's like you're in a movie all of a sudden. Like, it brings, like, that's what it does for me in any case. And so I wouldn't skip on it. Like, if it wasn't my song, I would just be like, I wouldn't do it. This was there, because a lot of times, especially like on Spotify or something, you go to listen to top tracks, and I listen to a few minutes, and I go, I've heard it, it's been done. I've heard it's been done. I heard it's been done. Like, there's a few times where you feel like the songs are so derivative that, like, and then sometimes a big artist will come out with a song that's really good, and you know it, you feel it, it's fun and great. But then some of the songs that people do that are on those lists are kind of like, okay, it's all right, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. But and yeah, I think, I was a big fan of Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane. So it could have been way weirder. In fact, Matt had to stop me from doing some certain melodic things. And I also listened to Bulgarian singers. So like, the melodic note choices I've had in the past, you're like, why'd you pick this one? And I'm like, because I'm like, nah, like, thinking of those minor seconds. So to me, this is a pretty conventional song.
Okay. All right. I think our listeners are super excited to hear it, all the talk we've been doing about it the last few minutes. So let's play the whole thing, and then we'll revisit some of it again after we listen.
Some things are blue. Don't make me think of you. This tinsel town is lacking some sparkle.
a great tune.
Hey, that was Sparkle by Civil Wray. Songwriters Andrea DeBoer, Matthew DiMatteo, Iva Valent, and Jessica Stewart.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And getting back to the long thing, like, I was wondering when I listened to it earlier today, how long is this song? And I'm like, oh, wow, it's 6 minutes. But we're just listening to it. It doesn't feel long because it's not, repetitive. There are repeating elements, of course, as any song should be. But it's not boring at any point. It changes enough that it keeps you interested the whole way through. You even got a little coda on the end, yet another, sort of mini verse section just to cap it off. Cap it off with a chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see what you mean, because there is that style of songwriting which is very common right now, and it's like the that's a sort of very small range kind of vocal performance, and it is a style, and I think as any style, it's dated where your melodies go all over the place, and it's really interesting. Like even the end of the chorus sort of doesn't end the way you would think. Like it's got a different kind of curve there, which I thought was really cool. What is the chords between the verse and the chorus? Because in some ways it sounds like there is a change, and in other ways it doesn't. I couldn't quite figure that out.
I thought it was a key change, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure either off the top of my head. I didn't hear it just now. It sounded funny because I'm doing this through Zoom through my phone, so it sounded like underwater bubbles. But I've heard it enough to know. I should know. But like, I'm just trying to think like, okay, and then like, who am I? I kind of think of the who am I to say as the pre-chorus.
As a pre-chorus, yeah.
Yeah. So then it slides into the chorus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it just to say that it's not, it's not the same chords the whole way through. It is evolving, no. and it has different musical contour, and the drop into the chorus is really like Phil was saying, like it sounds different enough, but it doesn't sound out of place. But it's clear you're going into a special section of the song, and the melody takes off and everything. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And and again, co-writing with Matt, like that was a lot of. He kind of really had an inner sense of what the structure should be, even though he was looking for it, but he knew it was there. Mm-hmm. It was just sometimes we were just trying to figure out how to get there.
And it's really curious too. The top of the chorus, like you've got a lot of words in this song. There's a lot of lyric. That's the other thing that makes it long, right? But the top of your chorus starts with, "And what have we become now? And what have we become now? And what have we become now?" In three different, or maybe melody 1 and 3, I think are the same. And melody 2 is different, right? And for a song with lots and lots of words and a lot of deep meaning and imagery and everything, you decide to repeat the same line 3 times at the top of your chorus.
Yeah, I as you're saying that, I was just thinking why I think it works is that I'm talking directly to the listener. That like it's just what have we become now? It's literally like I was talking about my things, but what have we become now? So what have we become now? What have we become? The second one goes up,
yeah,
and then the other one falls off.
Falls off, yeah. And
then all of a sudden, like, how will we know?
Yeah, then you go into a whole different thing.
What's going on? Ah!
Yeah.
What's so funny is that this, like, I had been sitting on this song for a while, and before the pandemic, it felt like it might have not really worked. I didn't know how. It just wouldn't have had the same. People wouldn't get it. But then after the well, it's not after, but as we've gone through what we've gone through since 2020, I think more people can relate to it. Like more people have had actual time to just slow down and kind of ponder things the way we kind of used to as humans, and not so much anymore because we're so distracted. So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of. I hope it. As many people get to hear it, because I'd like to add some no distraction energy to people.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and what have we become now? I mean, it's a question, and it's provocative enough but it's wide open to interpretation, because I could see that as, are we too ingrained in technology? Is there too much extremism happening? Is there what have we become now, and how culpable are we in all of these things that are happening? Like there's a lot you can unpack from that one line. Right?
Yeah.
It's just
So definitely where Matt really let me be like a poet, as it were, in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, after the orchestration, that's why I was wondering if it was a live band thing, because it does seem like kind of an orchestration that would be done with a live band, because there's lots of little bits to it. It's not like, there's a 4-bar loop and a 4-bar loop and a 4-bar loop. It's it's lots of stuff.
Yeah. I did strings on it. I play violin, so I did all the strings on it. I think we had a mellotron as well, I can't remember. And then there's bass, and you just would re-record them, and I guess it just says what a great producer Matt is. It's really I'd worked with him before on an album called Green, with my old moniker band called Blue Venus, and he had done the album Grin, and that was a while back, but this, we did it in a month. We recorded it with a band, and it sounded great, but this is a whole other thing, because and also we were thinking of Talk Talk.
I love Talk Talk.
That was one of the references. Tame Impala was one of the references. And he really knew how to get the best out of my vocals. It's a big team effort, and I'm just really super happy that it's coming out now.
And then, for having written it on the piano, there's no trace of the piano left, is there?
Yeah, no, and it didn't really need it. It started with the piano, and then we kept writing it in the studio. So I didn't write the whole thing at home. I mean, the bridge was something I came in. I was like, I came up with the bridge, and it was pretty much that. But there's no piano part, because I'm a better piano player now, but then I barely played. So. I guess it was started at home, and parts of it were in home, but then a lot of it was done in the studio. Like, I remember when we were doing the chorus, and we were just like, okay, let's sing this. Okay, I have an idea. Now let me try this. Let me try that. Love, that thing. Like, we were like, okay, well, let's try that. What if we did it 3 times? What if we did it 4 times? Like, all that kind of stuff.
Cool. And the rest of the EP is you're releasing one song at a time and then releasing it as an EP?
Yeah.
How come you're doing it that way?
It helps me kind of get some speed as far as promotion. Like, I do one single, then where I have people have now so many people have heard the song, but then they're going to want to hear the next song. And then that will have more reach. So I'm just really basically trying to build up a fan base. I've been a busy few years, and I like to do writing and playing music more than I like to promote myself. But I realize that it's kind of like a radical form of self-care to like promote myself as a musician artist, like as an artist and promote the songs. And now it's like, for me, I love the songs so much I want to share the songs, as opposed to these are songs I wrote. Like they're like, that's not really the point. The point is like, oh my God, you got to hear this, because it just freaks me out how much I mean, I can still listen to them, and I don't even think of it like me. I go, is that me? Like, I don't even, it's weird. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Doesn't register,
Yeah, it doesn't register. I just, yeah.
Okay, and I think that's about time to wrap it up. This is the Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Andrea DeBoer, aka Civil Wray. And where can our listeners hear this song and the rest of your music?
They could go to civilraymusic.com, CIVILWRAY, and they can also just listen on Spotify, or they can go and get the track on the website and Bandcamp. Anywhere basically you get music, you can find it. Thanks so much for having me. It's really been fun.
Thank you. Thanks for being on the show, and we'll certainly put a link to Civil Wray's website on our show post on songtalk.ca. So be sure to check that out. And we want to hear from you, our listeners. So please send your comments on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. So be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes. Subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. And don't forget to find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on our resources page on songtalk.ca. There's a lot of stuff there. And wherever you are in the world, please join us online via Zoom at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil.
philemery.ca.
And Andrea, what's your favorite social media platform? I know you're everywhere, but where do you go the most?
I'm liking Instagram.
Instagram, and it's Civil Wray on Instagram?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, and be sure to follow Andrea there. And thanks for listening, everybody. Be sure to stop by the website songtalk.ca to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and
keep on writing. You gotta get that time right there.
Good night, everybody.
I'm gonna do this song, like, it's not like everything else, and it's so easy when you listen to Spotify that there's so much stuff that's exactly the same. And I know it's the same because it sells, and that's why people are doing it, because it sells. But it's I've actually there's some bands in St. John's that are doing really interesting melodic things.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it's not just like, there's that sort of rhythm and blues, kind of modern rhythm and blues stuff. Has a kind of very limited melody range, and I just find it very tedious. And finally some people are just starting to do some interesting melodies again.
Cool.
Yeah, there's only one guy who I like who does those very small melody things, is like Bad Bunny. He's really good at songs. I know.
Yeah. What's interesting to me too is you hear people that are perfectly capable of doing big, expansive melodies, but they're choosing not to. I think because maybe it sounds old-fashioned. It's kind of old-fashioned now to do a big, expansive melody. It's kind of a retro thing.
There's definitely a retro, a nostalgic feel to it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think he tried to get me to sing stuff like that, I guess, and I just was like, yeah, no, it's not my thing.
Yeah.
Well, and that's fine, because there's lots of people who are doing that.
Yeah, and they're good at it. That's their thing.
We don't need more than that. We've got that's done,
Yeah.
But the music industry is now that where they're manufacturing stuff that's going to sell, and it's going to be an easy sell. and that's fine. But we have enough of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
and it's so many different genres now, though, too. So I think
Yeah.
everyone's getting, seen, as it were.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I think that there's still a huge market for singer-songwriters, especially in the 1970s style. Like, what's that guy's name? He did a song called "The Magician." Kind of long hair, kind of balding at the top. I'll remember his name later. I think you guys know him. He wrote an album called "The Party." Canadian. I think he's from Saskatchewan.
Okay.
It had a song called "Wendell Walker." That is an amazing song that he sang live. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
I don't have my computer open right now.
Yeah. You'll definitely have to send that to us because we want to have him as a guest. If he's, this sounds like somebody we want to have. Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
We will send you an email when the show goes live, which will probably be Sunday or Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. You can share it with all your peeps.
That would be awesome if you would do that.
I will do that.
Cool.
Just making it a SOP so that I do all the things like mention on here, mention on there, mention on here, mention on there, mention on here, mention on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, guys, thanks so much for having me, and I will let you know when I release the next one.
Yeah, for sure. I'll keep an eye out, and I'm sure we'll see it. Awesomeness.
Yay!
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks
You guys have a great
night.
great night.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.